Howdy folks, long time no see. Where have I been? Hither and yon, hither and yon. I've been working, I've been doing things around the house, I've been procrastinating on making more videos. I have been thinking about making more videos and then the time has just passed and I haven't got around to doing them until now. But today I am making another video, a long-awaited video. I've been hankering to get back behind the camera to make another video in my Kind of Magic series. And this video is going to be a kind of a walkthrough stroke review of a deck that I've had for a while and have been studying for a little while and really would like to share with you because it's another one of these magic themed decks. I've already shared some of those already. What's different about this one from my point of view is that it's a bit more within the kind of traditional magical framework. It's a Golden Dawn deck and it is in fact the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot, which is by, well, it's been put together by Harry and Nicola Wendrich and Nick Farrell, and this is actually from Wendrich Art House. That's the name of the company that the Wendrichs have, and that have produced this deck. Nick Farrell is quite a well-known writer in esoteric occult circles, and he has collaborated with them on the creation of this deck. So I'm going to share a bit with you about the deck itself and then also about two books that accompany the deck. The deck, I should say, and I've shown you this already in holding it up, it does come with its own little white book, which is quite substantial in terms of what it portrays. That's the box. Normal kind of tuck box, but it does come, if you want it to, you can order from the website this very nice wooden container, which I did actually order, and the deck actually sits inside of this. And it is a lovely deck. It obviously, as the name would suggest, it's Golden Dawn based. I'll give you a little bit of information about how they came to create the deck in a second. One of the things that comes with the deck is this kind of introductory art card, which has got a very lovely rosy cross on it, and each of the cards, it's very difficult to see unless I hold this right up to the camera, and you might not be able to see in terms of focusing, but each of the cards is forms one of the flowers, one of the petals of the flowers of the rosy cross, with the name of the appropriate card, which they're given in the text. So for example, one of the cards is the Great One of the Night of Time. We'll come across that, I'm sure, when we get into the deck. But very lovely, vibrant colours. And in fact, colours is an important theme within this deck, as you'll see in a second. The back of the cards are thus, so it's a recreation of the Rosy Cross against a dark green background. The cards themselves, in terms of cardstock, are it's quite sturdy cardstock with a bit of flexibility, so it does shuffle reasonably well. They're quite large cards comparatively, as you can see, and so that's useful because it makes them very easy to study, and there's a lot of detail in the cards, so it's well worth spending time studying them. So what I'm going to do is just read you a little bit from the information that's on the Eclectic Tarot site, because I think that's quite a useful way of sharing with you some of the information about the colour correspondences in this deck, which are so important. So what it says is that the artwork in this deck is vibrant and filled with details. The original paintings are oil on canvas, and colour is of key importance in the deck. The Golden Dawn's colour system is utilised and updated to implement magenta as a primary colour. Now let me see if I can find a card that has got magenta. Now magenta, I think that might be magenta. Is that magenta or is that purple? I'm not very good with my colours. I'm a bit, oh no, hang on, I think that's magenta. So the border there. Red is actually made from mixing together yellow and magenta, and therefore the makers of this deck established that really magenta should be the primary colour, the kind of key colour, if you like, for the deck, which is quite hard to make in older decks, but because of the way that printing has evolved, they're able to do it in this deck. And they make the appropriate adjustments within the deck to accommodate this alteration. The Five of Cups and Judgment are the most notably affected by this change, as pure magenta is utilised in these cards. Wouldn't it have been sensible for me to just go straight for Judgment. I was wrong. That wasn't magenta. That is magenta. This very vibrant kind of pinky colour rather than purple is the magenta. Very, very pretty. So the border colour of each card corresponds to its colour association, and pertinent symbols appear in the corners. So let's just have a look at the Fool to start with, so you get a sense of what we're talking about. For the majors, this includes the Hebrew letter association and the planetary, zodiacal or elemental correspondence. You can see those at the bottom. The court cards and minors are labelled with the alchemical symbol of their suit element, and the astrological correspondences for the minors are incorporated into the illustrations as described by the Golden Dawn in Book T. Now, I've linked to Book T before. I'll link it down below again. But that is the Golden Dawn document that all of the Golden Dawn decks are either based upon or have been revised from, in the case of some that have deviated somewhat from the system. But I'm sharing this with you simply because the other decks that I shared with you had less of a kind of ceremonial magic flavour to them. So we've looked at chaos magic decks, and we've had a look at decks that are a bit more based on kind of a freestyle approach to magic. But this is very much rooted in the ceremonial magic tradition, the Golden Dawn tradition. Now, ceremonial magic is not a form of magic that I practice, although I have studied it a bit and have read quite a bit about it, and certainly respect what ceremonial magicians are doing in their practice, but it's not really for me in terms of my approach to magic. It's a bit too required a bit too much discipline, shall we say. I'm not that disciplined. I'm a bit lazier than one needs to be in order to properly follow a ceremonial magic practice. But this is a lovely deck, and it's very interesting if you are interested in studying this kind of stuff. So what we'll do is we'll just go through the cards every so often, as is my wont. I will stop and I will read to you something that comes in the little booklet, just so you can get a sense of the kind of information that is shared just in the purchase of the deck. I'll quickly give you a preview of the fact that there are two other books that come with it. One is written by the Wendriches themselves, called A Sephirotic Odyssey, A Journey in Consciousness with the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot, and this takes you on a journey of the Tree of Life, upon the Tree of Life with the tarot cards. As we climb the tree on the path of return, we meet the archetypal forces which shape our life experiences and learn how their balance enables the Kundalini serpent fire to rise within us in preparation for entry into deeper levels of consciousness. So this is a good kind of consciousness exploration book. And then Nick Farrell, who collaborated and cooperated with the Wendrichs on making the deck, has done his own book, which is a series of meditations, the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot Deck Meditation Guide, which is just called Tarot on the front. You get this one from Lulu, I think. Not the singer. Lulu.com is what I mean, obviously. And I think it only covers... It's got information about various things like Kabbalistic Cross and so on. Oh, and it has got all of the different numbers, and it's got the different paths, and it's got information specifically on the major arcana cards. So we'll go into that in a bit more detail shortly. But now, on with the deck. So I usually witter on for too long when I'm doing these walkthroughs. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to keep going. I'm going to be flinging these cards up. If you want to stop at any point and look at the detail, and as you can see from some of them there is quite a bit of detail on them, please do. At some point I will stop and I will say something, and I can't resist it. I'm going to have to do it already because we're on to the High Priestess, which is one of my favourite cards. Now, the names that I mentioned to you that are on the Rosy Cross appear on, I think it's on the minor cards in this deck. Yes, and on the kind of court cards. They don't appear on the majors, although the majors have got their own titles. So just very quickly, the Fool is the Spirit of Ether, the Magician is the Magus of Power, and the High Priestess is the Priestess of the Silver Star. Some of you will be familiar with this if you're familiar with other Golden Dawn influenced decks like the Hermetic Tarot or other Golden Dawn decks or the Thoth Tarot and so on. And if you've read Book T, you'll probably have come across some of these names before. But the information that's given in the booklet for the High Priestess is unconditional love, purity of intent, right actions driven by the unconscious, an indication of a period of gestation, high intense spiritual energies, well balanced, inner silent voice, skilled in the occult arts, spiritually awakened individual. So it doesn't give an awful lot of detail about the actual art on the card, although there is a bit in the introduction here about the different colour codes and so on, but it gives you the kind of basic information about the card meanings. So now we have the Empress, the Emperor. I think you can see, I hope you can see anyway, just how vibrant the colours are within this deck. Great for study if you're interested in studying the Golden Dawn tradition, if you're interested in doing path working, if you want cards, if you're interested in ceremonial magic and you want cards that you can put on your altar, and you can buy these in altar-sized cards as well, then these would be great. But look at the detail, the lovely detail of that swirling sky up there. What I would suggest, if you're going to get this deck, that you do have a copy of Book T, and as I say, I will attach a copy below, a link below, the Chariot, my birth card. Fantastic, look at those wonderful rays of the rainbow coming from the charioteer's head, and the two horses, which really make it clear that the chariot is pulling in different directions. You can see that the wheels are angled out as they should be. There's a sense of stillness within motion and motion within stillness that's so important for the chariot. A real kind of sense of energy and dynamism. I'm just going to move my curtain back a bit because I want, excuse all the wobbling, I want as much light as possible, natural light as possible, to be reflecting on these cards so that you can see the vibrancy of the colour. Look at that lovely Strength card. Beautiful. Hermit. Wonderful, mysterious Hermit card. I know that some people find colouring like this a bit garish and a bit difficult, but if you are interested in the Golden Dawn and if you want to read about it, then obviously Book T contains information about colour. Another writer who wrote very well and very interestingly on the use of colour within the tarot, and in particular, excuse me, let me have a sip of coffee. I've got a bit of a cold, which is why my voice is a bit croaky. Was Paul Foster Case. He wrote about colour in a number of books, but he has a book called The Tarot, which is well worth seeking out, particularly if you can find the one that has the colour plates in it. But that's to do with the builders of the Adytum Tarot, specifically, not this one. So here we have Justice as number 11. So, interestingly to note that we are sticking with the Rider-Waite-Smith numbering of 8 being Strength, Justice being 11. Here we have the Hanged Man. I'll just say a little bit about this. You can see that the Hebrew letter is, or as it is in very many of these cards, certainly the builders of the Adytum card, the kind of frame that the Hanged Man is being hung upon is in fact the Hebrew letter that relates to the card. And if we go and have a look at what it says about the Hanged Man, the name of this card that is given to this card is the Spirit of the Mighty Waters. Baptism by water, the descent of spirit into matter, wisdom, prophecy, sacrifice and loss, punishment, restriction, restraint, spiritual growth through suffering, stilling the mind, deep spiritual insights, awakening of the higher nature, in material matters, a reversal. Then we have death, very beautiful colours and real mix of colours there. You know, for me, it's really important for me in the death card that there be signs of life, and you know, you can see the sperm rising up there, the colouring, the light in the sky, very, very much a card that has within it signs of both death and life, which is really important for this card, I think. Temperance. And there are 2 temperance cards in this deck. I should have said there are 2 options for temperance, depending on your preference. And again, let's just have a quick look to see what it says about temperance. daughter of the reconcilers, the bringer forth of life. Unification of opposites, mixing, moderation, meditation, polarity, a safe environment for growth and adjustment, realization. Then we have the devil. Yup. Powerful image. Tower. The star. The moon. Wow. Definitely reminiscent, I think, of obviously the Rider-Waite, but the Rider-Waite-Smith, but also of the Thoth deck. That kind of energy coming from the moon, those kind of vibrations, waves coming from the moon. The sun. And Judgment with that marvellous magenta all around it. And the universe. And then we're going in now to the minors and the courts, and what you will see here is that the tarot makers of this deck have given the father figure the name King, and as in accordance with Book T, they have placed the father figure in chariots. So similar to the Thoth deck, although they're called knights in that deck, and so the charioted figures in the courts are the father figures, if you like, the kings. King of Wands, Queen of Wands, Prince of Wands, Princess of Wands. And you can see that the key colour for the courts is the same throughout for each of the suits, although you find that it changes as it goes through the numbers of the suit, although that key colour is still intrinsic to the art. So here we have the Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands, and you see the names are appearing now, Lord of Dominion, Three of Wands, Lord of Established Strength, Four of Wands, Five of Wands, Six, Seven, Eight, Nine. So Nine of Wands, Lord of Great Strength. Let's just see what our book says about this. So this is the card that represents the link between, that is the Yesod of Atzilith. So looking at how each of the spheres within the Tree of Life relates to a different one of the Kabbalistic worlds, with each of the different suits relating to a different one. So the suit of Wands relates to Atzilith, and the ninth card relates to the ninth sphere of Yesod. So this is Yesod of Atzilith, Moon in Sagittarius, tremendous and steady force that cannot be shaken. Inner strength crystallized by opposition, apprehension and doubt before victory, strength, power, hard working, good health and recovery, realization of what can and cannot be accomplished. 10, Lord of Oppression. So into the cups, the water suit, so appropriately enough, a watery colour. King of Wands, his eagle chariot. Sorry, King of Cups. Queen of Cups. Prince of Cups. And I love that we've got the crab within the cup. And, you know, it's kind of reminiscent, obviously, of the fish in the cup suit for the Page of Cups in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And we have here a terrapin or a turtle or a tortoise. I'm not quite sure what that would be. I think it's probably a terrapin. coming out of the cup of the Princess of Cups. And then Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups, 4 of Cups, 5. The contrast between different colours from card to card is quite striking. So you can imagine when these are laid out in a reading and you have got 3 quite contrasting colours together, it really does look very striking. 7 of Cups, Lord of Illusionary Success. I know that not everyone likes having these kind of key phrases on the cards, but for a kind of Golden Dawn influence deck, I think it's useful. 8 of Cups, 9 of Cups, 10 of Cups. And you'll see the different colours on the 10 here relate to the different, the kind of coming down into manifested reality of the 10s, which is something that we see more in the 10s than in anything else. King of Swords, Queen of Swords, Prince of Swords, Princess, Ace, 2, 3 of Swords, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of Swords, and 10 of Swords. And on to Pentacles, and what you'll see is that because Pentacles is the earthy element, which is and relates to that kind of groundedness of the Tree of Life, again you've got the kind of 4 different colours around the side, indicating that blending of different worlds. King of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles. I think one of the most striking cards in the deck for me, the Prince of Pentacles. Love that. And the Princess of Pentacles. Ace, now you can see there's a kind of a mottling effect now on the cards. Again, we're now into a much more grounded, earthy part of the system, and that's being shown up in the lack of the purity of the colour of the borders. Ace of Pentacles, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I love this one. 10 of Pentacles is kind of really earthy, radiating down onto the earth. 10 of Pentacles, the Lord of Wealth. So those are the cards, and as I say, the little white book gives a little bit of information about the background and gives some information certainly on the meanings of the cards and on the colour system, but doesn't go into a huge amount of detail of everything else. It does have some information about readings and spreads and so on, so there's a 15 card divination spread in there. But if you really want to know the detail of what went into it, then I highly recommend this book, The Sephirotic Odyssey. And as I say, it takes you on this kind of journey of consciousness with the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot. and it's by Harry Wendrich and Nicola Wendrich, and it's got lots of information in about the colouring system and so on. And then the way that it's split up is information about the Golden Dawn, and then the 22 keys of the major arcana are covered in detail, and then there's information about the Tree of Life and Ein Sof and the birth of the Tree of Life, the different worlds, the 4 elements, and then goes through each of the minor arcana and each of the court cards. And then at the back there is a section on the colour magic of the Golden Dawn. So lots of information in here about the systems. The book itself is not in colour, but it does give you information about, for example, which part of the Tree of Life each card relates to, you know, there's kind of interesting information about what the Tree of Life represents. So if you're interested in Kabbalah, if you're interested in learning about Kabbalah, and you're interested in looking at how ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn magic and Kabbalah link together with the tarot and the colour system of the tarot and the number system of the tarot, then this is a highly recommended book. Quite heavy going in places, but the way that it's laid out is actually really simple if you're looking at each individual card. And just to give you an example, I'm going to pluck one at random. Oh, that's the key card. Can't do that one. Okay, so here we are, Lord of Earthly Power. So that is the 4 of Pentacles. So let's go to the 4 of Pentacles page in here. And we'll just say a little bit about what it tells us. So the 4 of Pentacles, we learn, is Chesed of Asaya. So we know it's on the lower part of the 4 worlds because it's Pentacles, and it's he said or she said, which is the Sapphira or Sephiroth that this relates to, this card relates to. And the information you get is the esoteric title is Lord of Earthly Power, the divine name is El, God. Astrologically it's Sun in Capricorn, and the Sephirotic colour is deep azure flecked yellow. Now, I must admit, I would maybe interpret that. Now, it's deep azure flecked yellow, not deep azure flecked yellow, because that to me is the blue with bits of yellow on it, which is correct. So it's deep azure flecked yellow. That's what they're saying here. The card dynamics, it describes them. One angelic hand rises from swirling clouds holding a rose branch with 4 pentacles making a square surrounded by lush vegetation. In the centre is the most beautiful white rose in full bloom, showing that on the path of emanation, spirit flourishes in this new environment below the abyss. The higher self is held within the material structure that is forming. The speckled background indicates the congealing of the great powers of light into a law on which creation rests. The rose represents the soul, also now being crystallized within matter. The 4 of Pentacles is a reminder of Ezekiel's vision, the 4 pentacles representing the 4 cherubim, which in turn serve the Enochian watchtowers. These hold order within the elementary powers of the earth, permitting a beautiful ecosystem which encourages life to thrive and evolve. And then in terms of astrology, the Sun in Capricorn suggests a strong and stable environment for growth and development. The Capricorn-Sun combination brings a youthful and joyful environment, allowing for social interaction, yet remaining disciplined and focused, strong and stable. Theresa May could probably have done with this card during her somewhat disastrous election campaign. Well, not disastrous, she won, of course. Archetypal influences. Archetypally, the devil and the sun make a recipe for success, where the devil penetrates into material matters and is given the golden light of the sun to maximize any endeavor with germination and strong growth. But that same light can pronounce the beauty manifesting, invoking desires and passion. There is a danger here of attempting to hold on to the beautiful pentacles, which may symbolize material wealth. Such has its own law. If you give, you will receive. Material matters are governed well by the Lord of Earthly Power. However, care must be taken not to lean towards autocracy. and there's a bit about the angelic approach. The angels of the Shem Ha-Mephorash are Kevakaya, to be rejoiced in, and Mendiel, honourable. These two angels show that upon the path of return, the attainment of this level of consciousness is held in high esteem in its abiding within the law of God and the rejoicing in his love and presence of a manifesting creation. So kind of angelic hierarchy, esoteric information in there as well. That's that book. The other book that one can get to accompany this deck is this one, and that's the Meditations book by Nick Farrell. And again, just to say that there's information about the background, more about the background of some of the information on the colouring, and then things like the Kabbalistic cross preparation and the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, how to do meditation and relaxation, breathing, how to do the middle pillar, and how to consecrate your deck. And this book is really about using your tarot deck as a meditation deck. So let me just give you an example of what that might mean. So let's go to my good old beloved Chariot card. If I can just find it for you. Come on, my dear Chariot, where are you? There is Chariot. Okay, so the Chariot, this is from this book now. The Chariot shows the divine self riding in the chariot of personality. The spirit of man controls the lower principles, soul and body, and thus passing triumphantly through the astral plane, rising above the clouds of illusion and penetrating to the higher spheres. The wheels are the same as the wheel in key 10, which shows that whilst in our incarnation, the divine subjects itself to life's cycles. I cannot resist looking at key 10. Ah, yes, you see, there is the wheel in key 10, and if you look closely, those wheels are indeed, they're the same, they've got the same colours on the side. How clever. So the Wheel of Fortune literally forms the wheels on the chariot. How wonderful. And now I've lost my place. So the wheels are the same as the wheel in key 10, which shows that while in incarnation the divine subjects itself to life's cycles. The charioteer is armoured to represent the sign of Cancer. He has similarities with the Emperor, but while the Emperor is static, the charioteer is moving. He is the sun conquering the darkness. The horses are the black and white forces of polarity, which he controls without reins. They represent the same things as the pillars in the outer order and are attached to the chariot by the serpent force of Kundalini, which is spiritualized by the head of the eagle. The eagle is known for its keen sight. It watches and sees when one of the horses is unbalanced and controls it through the serpent power. This is one aspect of the teaching of Kundalini, or sex force, which is not often talked about, but is also shown in the serpents on the wand of the Kerux. This is what is taught in key 8. The eagle represents water, which is the element of Cancer, ruled by the moon, which is at the front of the chariot cart. The rider itself is Apollo and solar. Thus we have the sun manifesting through the agency of the moon. In Where Ra it is taught that this card represented the sublimation of the psyche so that it was possible to soar into the heavens. Meditation seed idea. So this is how to use this card as a meditation. My higher self is the rider in the chariot of personality across the skies of forever. So you're being invited to consider the symbology of the card and look at a particular meditation phrase by the Nick Farrell book, which is also well worth seeking out if you can get it. I will put a link below where you can get the deck, where you can get the books, where you can get book T, and yes, that's the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot. Now, I will confess I've not used it an awful lot. I have used it a couple of times for readings. I have done a bit of meditation with it, and I have done certainly a bit of studying with it. And I find it very compelling and very beautiful to look at. I've been looking for a Golden Dawn deck for a while because I must admit most Golden Dawn decks that are very emphatically about the Golden Dawn, so I'm not talking about Golden Dawn influence decks like Thoth deck or Rider-Waite-Smith, but decks that are very focused on the Golden Dawn as book T is written, I've generally found have left me a bit cold. But this one doesn't. And there's something about the colourfulness of it and the artwork that makes me feel invited to study more rather than intimidated about the level of detail. So that's my impression of the Golden Dawn Temple Tarot, another magic deck as part of my Kind of Magic series. So hopefully it won't be so long before my next video, and I hope you're all well, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.